Good morning, everyone. This is morning where I am. This is our 74th episode of our Agile Shorts.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. We've been doing this for a little while, a couple of years now.
Yeah.
And
We're going to have a centennial here soon, right?
I know. Yeah. What will we do for our 100th episode, I wonder?
Yeah.
Anyway, so today I'm joined by my partner and good friend, Mike Jebber. And we're going to be talking about how communities and companies win with disruption. And of course, we've been through quite a bit of disruption, especially in the last few years with the pandemic and now with AI. And I'm not really sure where this talk's going. So we're just going to, just sort of riff, since we are, as a company, our company is very interested in how disruption impacts organizations and in the individuals within it, and how we can help companies and individuals view disruption as a capability. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mike, and maybe you can give us sort of an intro on what we're talking about.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Kumar, you and I have had a lot of conversations just week to week on this thing, and we're definitely having them with the different folks we're working with, especially the leaders of companies that are really see the value in creating a capability of disruption and becoming adaptable. What it's allowing them to do is they're finding out that there are things now that they can do that they never even really considered as part of their corporate or work environment. I know, for example, there's a leader that I work with that now she's very, very philanthropic, right? Very much into community and giving back and everything else. But you look at in the recent years, a lot of corporate executives and a lot of corporations and orgs had to either be focused on doing philanthropic type stuff, community efforts, ecological items as their focus, or they were a business that spent a little bit of time during the year to give back. They have days off to go do community service, or you're doing it on your own, encouraging people to do that on their own, right? So what they're finding now is that they don't have to be separate. In fact, I think you were talking about an entire community over in Europe, right? That is actually taking this to another level and completely creating this kind of closed loop system to actually really put this into practice as not just something that's a sidebar activity or something you do periodically to feel good or to talk about. It's actually becomes part of the DNA and the structure of what the organization does as a whole, right alongside the products and services they deliver, and equally as important to the bottom line and the profit. They look at these things as just different elements, not separate segments of what they do. And what it can really do is drive a lot of ESG and DEI items, but really drive this idea of community into the daily activities of a corporation.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'd want to dig deeper into the people that you've been working with in this effort, and it's right. Yeah, we did talk about this earlier. Glenn Marshall and I have been doing a series comparing the permaculture principles. There is a set of ideas for more sustainable agriculture that are modeled around natural systems. And so rather than use a lot of fertilizers and pesticides and so on and so forth, and chemicals that strip the earth of topsoil, which, by the way, we're losing topsoil at an alarming rate. So anyway, long story short, these permaculture principles, we've spent some time sort of comparing them to the X-scale ecosystem thinking principles for companies, how companies can evolve and deal with disruption and maybe benefit from it through a more circular economy, if you will, where they're more integrated into their ecosystem of services and products that they deliver, and a more awareness of the waste that they produce and ways to recycle and reuse that. And to your point, there is a city in Denmark called Kalundborg that has been designed as a fully circular economy, where the companies and the community work hand in hand, designing the city to be entirely net zero in terms of energy and waste and so on. And I haven't done as much research on that to sort of dig in, but it sounds like that is kind of what you've been working with this group over the past couple of years.
Yeah, and theirs kind of came about what they're able to do now is more kind of opportunistic. I'll say accidental, but it's more really around, wow, it was the visibility now came about because of the fact that they were working to take advantage of some situations that happened post COVID. They had to do a lot of work to try to take advantage of those opportunities. And in doing so, what they found out was, quite by accident, but very, very, they were very excited about it, is that now they could have impacts in other ways that they never thought they could tie back to what they were doing in their organization, mainly around community. Directly impacting the communities that they're in through programs that they can set up and tied to the activities that they're doing to try to expand their capabilities within their business. They are now able to actually reach out and do more social activities, namely in this case, to reach out to at-risk young adults and actually go and give them an opportunity and show them a different path, because they now have a mechanism that they can do that with. And the intent of that mechanism wasn't necessarily for that reason, but because they're now able to think and look forward and be innovative and creative, and they actually have mind space to think about different ways to improve everything around them, not just the bottom line, but the living environments and the communities that the people that work with their organization live in. It started to blossom in many different directions. And I think that the concept, and you were mentioning it a little earlier, the concept of what a holistic approach looks like is evolving. You know, the idea that, yeah, we should be socially responsible as a corporation. We'll take out a little time each year. We'll take out some stuff. No, that is we're moving away from that. We're bringing those types of things in as being a core component of sustainability. You know, you and I both know that sustainability is really about balance. If you don't have balance, if you can't balance environments, you're at risk of not being sustainable. Something gets out of whack. And what they're realizing is that there are more components that need to be in place today for sustainability that we weren't considering in the past to make a holistic, sustainable approach moving forward, not just with the environment, but socially as well.
Can you give some examples of the impact that this group has had on communities more specifically?
Absolutely. This is so exciting. The president of the organization, very philanthropic leader. She's amazing. And all of her folks at her company, kind of, you know, that natural DNA of the company kind of assuming the persona of the chief, right, of the leader. They're all very much, they love giving back what they could do. And what they realized was, this is a manufacturing organization. In the manufacturing space in the U.S., the trades, which are the folks that have the skills to do the things that happen within the plant, the trades have been declining over the last 30, 40 years. And when we say declining, is no new people are coming into it. So the folks that were in it were getting older. They're now looking all at retirement. COVID for this particular company presented an opportunity, because a lot of the business that happens in this space was in Europe. A lot of the big players were in Europe. And when the supply chains got disrupted, and it didn't just disrupt the supply chains for the products and services, but for the maintenance of what they build. So there was an opportunity now for all of the customers on this side of the pond, as you say, in North America, in the Americas, to take on. They wanted more localized capabilities so that supply chains didn't disrupt. Well, that's great. Now they got a new opportunity, right? And they realized, okay, we've got to get staffed up to take care of this, and they've been reaching out and doing that. But then they looked out and reached out into the trade space. The people aren't there. There's nobody to go grab and bring in. You're right now. It's about pulling people from other companies, which is very difficult. So they started instituting a program to say, we're going to have to train our own. We're going to have to bring people up. We're going to have to start rehydrating the trades again through our own efforts, at least to get going on this. And this was really about a capacity play for them and sustainability, to take advantage of opportunities that they could now reach out to and that they had access to. So they get this going, and what they realize is that we've been going out and talking to all of these young adults, trying to get them into the space and getting them interested and showing them what their opportunities are. We're running into all of these situations where there's at-risk youth, young adults, at-risk people out there. And light bulb comes on and says, well, wait a minute, we now have a vehicle here that we can not only help our business and the ability to grow through capacity and skill, but we also have the ability now to reach out into our communities and start offering up opportunities for at-risk youth to keep them from going down the wrong path. And this is all, it's all because they have the time, they've had the opportunity to go into areas they wouldn't have before. They've been working for 2 to 3 years now on retuning themselves to be more adaptable, to be able to reach out, to have more time to look forward for opportunity, to actually reach out and have the time to build the capacity and the capability to meet those opportunities.
That's a good example of, oh, sorry.
Yeah, because they built that capability now, all of a sudden, all of these new things become visible to them, and now they can start reaching out and actually adding that to what they do.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's a good example of how this company has impacted the social part of the ESG equation, right? So training people in the trades, which are declining and have been for a long time, to your point. Still, to me, what about the environmental part? And any examples from your experience working with this group where companies are instituting more circular policies around their environmental impact? Or
yeah, and that's actually been in play for a lot longer time. The environmental side of these other aspects is much more developed and has been it's been much more visible. There's a lot more energy around it. There has been globally. Climate change has really driven that for quite some time, and that is like one of the sources of awareness of what's going on that people can feel and touch. So yeah, there's naturally a lot of that's been going on, and I know in our area that's been something that everyone's been working on for a very long time. The interesting thing
that's a tough nut to crack, though, right? Because publicly traded companies are held to profit expectations, if you will, or growth that is short-sighted in nature. I mean, every quarter you've got to report your numbers, right, to the public, the shareholders that own a share of your company. And it seems like the idea of a more circular approach requires long-term thinking and strategic thinking into how companies plug into a larger ecosystem of companies that provide services and goods to consumers. And we haven't cracked that nut yet, right? So we're still woefully behind in the climate change game. But that's maybe another topic for another show, or maybe people that know more about this than we do.
I will say this, though, the interesting thing that is emerging, it's not fully in play yet, but there are some very active participants proactively in this. Again, looking down the road and seeing that this is going to be a thing, and that's something that they maybe wanted to do and didn't know how to balance. Because I can tell you, for example, the company that I gave you the example about, they've always wanted to have more of an impact in these areas. They've never been able to find a way to balance it, because traditionally it's always been a trade-off of profit to ecological responsibility, profit to social reform and social responsibility and social benefit. There's always been this trade-off, because the only thing that they were being tracked on and the only thing that they were being held accountable for was the bottom line. The thing that's changing is that there are now other data points that they have to meet. That is some of these other areas. Some of them they're voluntarily doing, and they're doing it on their own because they know it's going to become a thing. Others, there's other things going on globally inside of governments in different parts of the world, where these things are starting to get established. The beginning foundations of what those measures should look like are getting established. In fact, you and I were talking about it. I know we both do a little bit of investing. You go to Fidelity Investments today, and when you do the research for organizations now, it's not just about profit. There are other categories, other columns on there for research inside of their software today, even though the measures haven't been really defined yet, they already have and are prepared for different types of measurements that are outside of profit. Yeah. And because they know that people are going to start investing based on those things. Those are going to be data points that people are looking at for investment. So
I will say that
moving in that direction.
It's moving there, but it's not there yet.
Well, it's not moving fast enough, unfortunately,
yeah.
right? I mean, that's especially for the environmental stuff. The social, actually, we can probably change a little quicker, but the environmental kind of we don't have, nobody has Mother Nature's magic equation or formula to be able to twist that around, right? So
yeah, that's true. But it is heartening to see that the group that you're working with that is investing in ESG and DEI and investing significant time and resources to change how companies work with other companies, I'm assuming, has had an impact on the community, and specifically the company that you're talking about, the manufacturer. And there are so many examples of companies that do this, of course, that are having to train their workforce because of a lack of trades, which has a significant impact on communities. This is where disruption, of course, can spur this type of action, right? But we don't have enough tradespeople. What do we do? They're not coming through the system anymore. What do we do? Well, we got to take matters into our own hands, right, and train these people, or people that have the capacity, potential to do this.
And the interest,
So that makes a lot of sense. We're running up on our time box here, 15 to 20 minutes. Anything I didn't ask or we didn't talk about this topic?
Well, I think it's a very large topic, and I think the one thing to take away from it is that, to your point, we are behind, right, where we need to be, where we should be, in a lot of these things. But there are a lot of great efforts going on out there from a lot of people that are not being pushed to do this because of regulation. And they're not being pushed to do this because that's going to be the new way of operating, which a lot of it will be. A lot of people will be brought along kicking and screaming the whole way. But there's a lot of great examples of folks out there that are doing it because they want to, because they've always wanted to. And now they feel like they've got a way to make it happen, and a way to make it so that it happens all at the same time in the same unit, and not have to do two separate types of activities that sometimes feel like they're competing, right? It is possible to tie these things together, and it is possible to make gained benefits in both areas from the same activity. And I think that's Absolutely. What's really encouraging about it.
And there's a whole city in Denmark that's proven this, from an environmental standpoint. And I'm sure there's a social impact there, right? They've designed a city that is completely closed loop. Everything's recycled from an environmental standpoint. The trades are well served because, of course, these companies have all bought in. There's several partners in Kalundborg that all work together to make this happen. And so there is proof that this can work.
Real examples out there.
Examples out there, right? All right. Well, thanks for joining me this morning, and hope you enjoy the show. We'll put some references to some of the things we talked about down in the show notes, and we'll catch you next time. Thank you.
Have a great week. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.